when I see the written word and I get an idea in my head if I choose the title or if I read through the lyrics and I say, that's the one, it just sets me off. God knows how I do it. I mean, Bernie and I have written songs and never been in the same room.
Far more volatile truth. Some of the most famous bands in rock history, bands the world assumed he respected, were, in reality, the ones he openly despised. Not out of envy, but because Elton believed they crossed an unforgivable line, they disrespected the very art form he devoted his life to. At the top of that list stood the Rolling Stones, his longest and most bitter rivalry. Their feud stretched across decades, fueled by clashing personalities, artistic philosophy, and Elton's growing conviction that the Stones stopped caring about creativity long before they stopped touring. The tension reportedly exploded in the mid-1970s during a chaotic backstage encounter at Madison Square Garden, when Mick Jagger was flirting with solo ambitions. Already dominating the charts as a solo powerhouse, Elton reportedly glanced at Jagger's flamboyant outfit and swelling entourage and delivered a cutting remark, "Darling, not everyone is meant for a solo career. Some should stick with their day job." Jagger said nothing and walked away, but the insult lingered. Keith Richards later dismissed Elton as that flashy bastard who thinks sequins are a personality, cementing the animosity. Over time, Elton became increasingly vocal about what he saw as the Stones' refusal to evolve, accusing them of recycling rebellion instead of redefining it. In a 2011 interview, he delivered one of his harshest critiques, stating that pretending to be rock's bad boys in their 60s wasn't rebellion at all. Real rebellion, he argued, was artistic evolution, not playing the same three chords for half a century. The room laughed. Ringo did not. At the heart of Elton's resentment was not hatred, but crushing disappointment. He believed the Beatles had already proven they were capable of brilliance beyond comparison, and therefore anything less afterward felt like an insult to history itself. One private comment in the early 1980s captured his bitterness perfectly: "Lightning doesn't strike twice, but at least don't hand us the empty bottle." Despite his deep and genuine friendship with John Lennon, Elton never fully reconciled with the others. What remains is polite distance, stripped of admiration, and a lingering ache for what he believed they should have been, but never became again. The rivalry deepened as Queen began collaborating with artists close to Elton, particularly David Bowie. After hearing early mixes of Under Pressure, Elton allegedly muttered off the record to a Rolling Stone journalist that Freddie was borrowing credibility from Bowie because he wants to be taken seriously, a cutting remark that stung precisely because Freddie deeply admired Bowie. Yet despite years of competition and unspoken hostility, Elton never turned his back on Mercury during his illness. In Freddie's final years, the sharp edges softened into mutual respect, though true reconciliation never arrived. The rivalry never truly died, it simply fell silent. Elton later admitted in his memoir, "Sometimes the people you fight the hardest are the ones you fear might outshine you," a confession that perfectly captured his complicated relationship with Queen. In the end, the grudge was never erased, only buried beneath layers of performance, pride, and the quiet understanding that greatness often recognizes its closest rival first. Number 4 was Oasis, and unlike Elton John's slow-burning rivalries with other artists, this one detonated almost instantly the moment respect curdled into pure contempt. Elton initially viewed the rise of Britpop with amused curiosity, even mild appreciation, until the Gallagher brothers publicly dismissed him as nothing more than old-man piano music. That single remark flipped a switch. Elton didn't just feel insulted, he felt profoundly disrespected by musicians he believed hadn't yet earned the right to mock anyone, let alone a legacy built over decades. He later told a friend, "They behave like legends before they've written anything that lasts," a line that revealed his deepest irritation, not jealousy, but disdain for what he saw as unearned arrogance. The feud truly unraveled during a disastrous dinner at Elton's home in 1997. Liam Gallagher arrived late, Noel arrived drunk, and within minutes Noel reportedly announced across the table, "Your songs are for dads and convertibles." Elton didn't raise his voice. He leaned forward, calm and lethal, and replied, "At least my father didn't have to listen to you whine for 20 years. Liam reportedly spat out his drink in shock, while Noel muttered something about Elton being out of touch. The night ended with the Gallaghers storming out, slamming Elton's antique door so violently it cracked the frame, an insult that lingered longer than any words exchanged. The conflict escalated publicly when Oasis's 2000 world tour collapsed amid constant infighting. Elton seized the moment on BBC Radio, delivering a blow heard across Britain, professionalism isn't trashing hotel rooms. It's showing up for fans who pay for your chaos. He wasn't just criticizing their behavior, he was dismantling their entire self-image. The most infamous confrontation came later that year at the Brit Awards, in a narrow backstage corridor. Liam swaggered past Elton and muttered a snide remark under his breath. Elton stopped him cold and said, "Talent without discipline is just noise, darling, and you're the loudest noise in British music." Witnesses said Liam lunged as if to swing, forcing security to intervene. Those present later claimed it was the closest Elton had ever come to a physical fight with another star. There was no apology, no cooling off period, and no reconciliation. Noel still throws occasional half-hearted jabs in interviews, but Elton refuses to acknowledge them at all. Years later, he summed it up to a close friend with quiet finality: "You can outgrow many feuds, but childishness? You can't reason with that." The bitterness remains untouched, frozen in a rivalry built not on competition, but on irreparable disrespect. Number 5 on Elton John's list of unacknowledged rivals was Electric Light Orchestra, a band whose very existence seemed to ignite a quiet but searing fury in him. The irritation began the moment Elton heard ELO on the radio and learned that critics were hailing Jeff Lynne as the future of symphonic rock, a single phrase that enraged him far more than anyone outside his inner circle could have imagined. To Elton, ELO epitomized everything artificial he despised in modern pop. In 1975, he reportedly vented to a studio engineer, declaring, "That's not innovation. That's hiding behind 40 violins." His anger escalated later that year when ELO's Evil Woman climbed the charts just as his own Island Girl slipped. Witnesses at Caribou Ranch recalled Elton slamming the piano lid with such force it echoed across the room, turning to his band and snapping, "Anyone can get a hit when you drown the melody." This wasn't jealousy, it was outrage. For Elton, pop music was meant to be raw, immediate, and truthful, not masked behind elaborate orchestration. When a producer later suggested a collaboration between Elton and Jeff Lynne, Elton rejected it instantly, saying, "I don't duet with people who wallpaper over weak songwriting," leaving the room stunned. Even his closest friends admitted they had never seen him so aggressively dismiss another musician. Tension only deepened as critics contrasted Elton's pen-driven storytelling with Jeff Lynne's layered productions, hailing ELO's sound as the future of pop, a pronouncement that pushed Elton into a near rage. One bandmate recalled him crumpling a magazine and saying, "If that's the future, then I'm staying in the past where the music actually matters." This rivalry was a Cold War, silent, relentless, and deeply personal. Jeff Lynne rarely responded, but Elton never softened, keeping his distance for decades and maintaining what one friend described as a lifelong refusal to forgive what he considered musical dishonesty. For Elton J.